My name is Arthur Stanley Eddington. I will narrate Chapter 3, Time. Astronomer Royal's Time. I have sometimes thought it would be very entertaining to hear a discussion between the Astronomer Royal and, let us say, Professor Bergson https://n.wikipedia.org wiki on Re Bergson, on the nature of time. Professor Bergson's authority on the subject is well known, and I may remind you that the Astronomer Royal is entrusted with the duty of finding out time for our everyday use, so presumably, he has some idea of what he has to find. I must date the discussion some 20 years back before the spread of Einstein's ideas brought about a rapprochement. There would then probably have been a keen disagreement, and I rather think that the philosopher would have had the best of the verbal argument. After showing that the Astronomer Royal's idea of time was quite nonsensical, Professor Bergson would probably end the discussion by looking at his watch and rushing off to catch a train which was starting by the Astronomer Royal's time. Biography Overview. Bergson lived the quiet life of a French professor, marked by the publication of his 4 principal works. In 1889, Time and Free Will in 1896, Matter and Memory in 1907, Creative Evolution in 1932, The Two Sources of Morality and Religion. In 1900 the Collège de France selected Bergson to a chair of Greek and Roman philosophy, which he held until 1904. He then replaced Gabriel Tarde in the chair of Modern Philosophy, which he held until 1920. The public attended his open courses in large numbers. I will invite Dr. Andrew H. Thomas. Author Andrew Thomas studied physics in the James Clerk Maxwell Building in Edinburgh University, and received his doctorate from Swansea University in 1992. Dr. Andrew has agreed to be interviewed by Don Head about his book Hidden in Plain Sight 3, The Secret of Time. Craig Callender, born 1968, is a professor of philosophy at the University of California, San Diego. His main areas of research are philosophy of science, philosophy of physics and metaphysics. Education and career. Callender obtained his Ph.D. in 1997 from Rutgers University with a thesis entitled Time's Arrow under the supervision of Robert Weingard. From 1996 to 2000, he worked in the Department of Philosophy, Logic and Scientific Method at the London School of Economics. Currently, he is a professor of philosophy at the University of California, San Diego, where he is also the co-director of the Institute for Practical Ethics at the University of California, San Diego. Callender serves on the Committee for Freedom and Responsibility of Science of the International Science Council. Callender has written articles for Scientific American on the philosophy of time and participated in the World Science Festival 2013 with Tim Maudlin and Max Tegmark on the same topic. Tim Maudlin. Maudlin graduated from Sidwell Friends School, Washington, D.C. Later he studied physics and philosophy at Yale University, and history and philosophy of science at the University of Pittsburgh, where he received his Ph.D. in 1986. He taught for more than 2 decades at Rutgers University before joining the Department of Philosophy at New York University in 2010. Maudlin has also been a visiting professor at Harvard University and Carnegie Mellon University. He is a member of the Foundational Questions Institute of the Académie Internationale de Philosophie des Sciences and has received a Guggenheim Fellowship. 1-2, in 2015 he was elected a Fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He is the founder of the John Bell Institute for the Foundations of Physics in Sveta Nedelja, Var, Croatia. Since the academic year 2020-21 Maudlin is visiting professor at the University of Italian Switzerland. 3. Tim Maudlin is married to Vishnu Maudlin. They have 2 children, Clio and Maxwell. Research interests. Professor Tegmark's research is focused on precision cosmology, for example, combining theoretical work with new measurements to place sharp constraints on cosmological models and their free parameters. During his first quarter-century as a physics researcher, this criterion has led him to work mainly on cosmology and quantum information. Although he's continuing his cosmology work with the Hera collaboration, the main focus of his current research is on the physics of intelligence, using physics-based techniques to better understand biological and artificial intelligence, AI. More info. Cosmic Microwave Background, CMB, and CMB, movies. Murchison Wide Field Array, MWA Omniscope. How to Get Empowered, Not Overpowered, by AI, TED Talk 2018. As I stated in the introduction to my series about time, I am going to introduce you to a number of philosophers, and their theories, who are important to the field of study known as the philosophy of time, a field that is these days being called the philosophy of space and time. They will not necessarily be in any specific order, and I will certainly not come anywhere close to covering all the various personalities who have pursued an answer to the question, what is time? After all, This is a topic that has been undergoing discussion since the ancient Greeks. Still, certain people, some of whom are gone, others still with us, are worth noting for their ideas which have had, and continue to have, an important impact on this field of study. For this reason, I am going to anoint each of my personal favorites with the title of Time Lord, with a wink and a nod towards Doctor Who, of course. About Don Head, author retired from the National Bureau of Standards, NBS. In 1988, the National Bureau of Standards was renamed the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST. 1964 to 1980, involved in all aspects of metrology, K1 through K8 specializing in precise time and frequency. Please consider this. Don Head wrote. Greater than in 1931, Lemaitre went further and suggested that the evident expansion of the universe, if projected back in time, meant that the further in the past the smaller the universe was, until at some finite time in the past all the mass of the universe was concentrated into a single point, a primeval atom where and when the fabric of time and space came into existence. I was born in 1937 at approximately the same time the Big Bang Theory was born. My point is that it is a relatively new idea. What if instead of projecting back in time, we project into the future and look back to see what the present universe looks like? As we get further and further away in time, the universe will appear to be smaller and smaller. At some finite point in our time projection, the universe will appear to have condensed into a dimensionless point, a singularity. We know of course that this is an illusion of perspective. Neither of these imaginary projections has anything to do with the actual size of the present universe. The whole Big Bang concept of the universe being condensed into a dimensionless point was considered to be absurd in 1931 by the overwhelming community of physicists, and will be again. The central problem with such misunderstandings is the human concept of time. Greater than time in itself, absolutely, does not exist, it is always relative to some observer or some object. I am attempting to initiate a World Time Forum using easily available technology such as this video to allow those of us who have an interest in such things to communicate.